Let's enhance your presence with body language and storytelling. Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm a coach and consultant helping professionals master difficult conversations and lead with confidence under pressure. Let's be honest. How many times have you zoned out in a meeting 5 minutes in? No judgment here. We've all been there. I've definitely been there. Now, let's look at the flip side of it. If you were the one talking, would people actually remember what you said, right? That's a tough one because now you're on the other side of the coin here. I think about this a lot. I know the boring speakers and I know those that I enjoy listening to. And I also know that I've been that boring speaker. I have good things to say and to share. However, I lacked engagement because of the way I communicated. I stated many useful facts, however, I didn't share many of the stories or how this information can be valuable and why I was looking for it in the first place. People thrive on stories, right? Stories help someone relate. Even the gossipers, they're so popular. And you might say, how does this relate to this at all? It's because they have a story to tell, right? It might not be their own, but they have a story to tell. So, what's the secret to building this skill? Because we sure as heck are not born with it. And the answer there is strong presence. So, strong presence equals that confident body language and also a compelling story. So that combination, that in fact is your power move. And presence matters more than you think. According to the research from UCLA, only 7% of communication is the actual words that you say. How about that? So you spent all this time putting together a script or thinking about what you're going to say, and only 7% of the time that communication hits the other person. The other 93%, it's tone, which falls in about 38 to 40%, and body language, which is 55%. So the way you stand, the way your posture is, it's louder than your pitch deck. And not to discredit tone, because coming in at about 38%, that matters too. But think about it. The way that you stand, the way that you convey yourself physically means more than what is coming out of your mouth. And when it comes to storytelling, people retain 65 to 70% of the information when it is shared as a story, but only about 5 to 10% when it's delivered through dry data or facts alone. So this takes me back to days when I was in college. I knew some of the professors that were really dry and boring, and it took everything I had to even stay awake in the class because I was falling asleep. And I had a tough time retaining the information. And I think it's just because, not that the information was hard or I didn't understand it, it's because of how it was delivered to me. So translation here, if you want to stick in someone else's mind and maybe inspire them, drop the spreadsheets and tell them a story. So body language is your silent superpower. And here's what confident body language actually looks like. So you're going to want to have an open posture. So none of that crossed arm stuff, open posture. Be open to discussions. Make yourself look open. Keep your chin up, your shoulders back. And have purposeful hand gestures, like you mean it. So utilize your hands like you would when you're having a conversation. When you're talking to your friends, you know, we do use our hands and we do use our bodies. I just don't think we focus on what we're doing. And that eye contact. You want good eye contact, but not the creepy kind, not the one that you're staring down at the abyss, right? You want good eye contact. And let's not forget the magic of mirroring, right? Subtly matching that other person's movements can increase rapport by up to 67%, according to research in psychological science. But if you pay attention when you're having a conversation with a friend or someone, you can see that you're kind of maybe touching your face when they're touching their face, or you're leaning when they're leaning, or standing in a certain position. You can notice that. If you really consciously take a look at it, you kind of already do that already when you're having some one-on-one conversations. And a tip for those of you primarily working in the virtual space, if you're in a virtual meeting, back up from the camera a little bit so that people can see your hands, right? People have a lot of trust in seeing your hands. So visible gestures equal higher trust, believe it or not. And storytelling is not just for campfires. Do you want to persuade? Do you want to lead? Do you want to motivate? Tell a story. A good story creates emotional resonance, increases oxytocin, that connection hormone, and it also makes people feel something. And that's what drives action. It's our emotions, right? Do you need more proof? Let's look at a study from Paul Zak. He found that stories can increase oxytocin levels, which in turn boosts trust and empathy. So try this structure. Start with a relatable moment. Something like, I used to dread team meetings until something happened, right? And add a little bit of struggle or tension. Then one day, everything fell apart. And end with a clear message or transformation. Here's what I learned that changed everything. People want to hear that rags to riches story, or that moment that wasn't going so well and that was turned around, right? We all love those stories. So here's your takeaway toolkit to boost your presence without faking it. So try this. Walk into the room like your message matters, like it's the only thing that matters. Use your hands to guide the story. Swap out bullet points for short, meaningful narratives. Match your nonverbal cues to your words and leave them with a story that they can't stop thinking about. So here's your challenge this week. At your next meeting or even conversation, ditch the script and share a story instead, and watch how people lean in, literally. So do you want to go deeper on these topics? Let me know in the comments. And this is something that I specialize in and I cover inside my CLEAR method. It's designed to help high-achieving professionals show up, speak up, and stand out, even in some toxic and difficult environments. And I also offer coaching, consulting, and have some upcoming courses if you're interested. Check it out on my website. I'll include it in the description below. So if you found this content helpful, valuable, please consider sharing, please consider subscribing, and we will see you on the next video.